Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be going through the new visual rewards of 8.1. So, all the new gear sets, the new weapons, the new mounts, and the updated paladin animations. It's a hell of a lot to get to, which is really great to see for this patch. Okay, first up, the Blood Elf Heritage Armor. This is, wow. Honestly, I think this is one of the best bits of armor that the game has really ever had, as far as I'm concerned. They've absolutely nailed it. They have achieved exactly what they set out to do with the Blood Elves. There's not much really else to say. I think this is pretty much a near perfect bit of Blood Elf themed armor. Of course, great timing. This is right as I swap my Blood Elf over to the Alliance. And I'd also love to see a weapon ensemble come with this. And indeed, with all the Heritage armor, I think that would be a really cool reward. Next, though, we have the Dwarf Heritage armor. This one also really hits the mark. My only criticism maybe is they could have went a little bit more adventurous with some of the color palette, but overall, though, I mean, maybe a bit more saturation, but overall, it's pretty damn, it's near perfect once again. The shoulder piece especially is one of my favorites, and in general, a brilliant bit of armor. Lovely helm too. As with the Blood Elf armor though, I would love to see some weapons to go along with this, but I suppose the dwarves do have a unique strength of course, their new faction ram from 8.0, which goes pretty well with this. Though I suppose only if you are a paladin. Now, sticking on the theme of racial armor, we have the Darkshore Warfront. We'll kick it off with the Night Elves. You know, it's insane that we haven't had proper Night Elf armor for so long, and we're going to kick it off with the plate. This is just full-on Night Elf armor. It looks absolutely fantastic, although I do think the helm is worth removing for the normal version. For whatever reason, I don't like how the curve of the face guard is running counter to the curve of the shoulders. Like, that should look good, but it almost looks too smooth. But anyway, bar that, it is a brilliant set that looks even better with its mythic variant, which absolutely nails it. I think the extra bit of flair kind of fixes my problems with the shape and it running too smooth, and it just leaves you with a wonderful looking bit of armor. Next, we've got mail. It's got a few different color variants. I think the red's kind of horrible, but I love the purple and I love the blue. Once again, the helm, I think, does no favors for it. You kind of just, well, you look like an arrowhead. But once the helm is removed, I think it is a wonderful bit of mail armor. And then once again, the mythic variant is tremendous. I probably would still remove the helm. But basically, if you want a Night Elf marksman, this is perfect. Next, we've got leather, and this one's kind of funny because if you wear a purple skin Night Elf, it kind of looks odd. But the blue and gold tint, I really like. I like it. I think contrast is really strong there. I think it's a little bit too simple by default, but that's fixed up by the mythic, which I'm assuming is just the conquest version. Yeah, really strong colors, really strong shapes. Again, though, I mainly like the blue and gold version. Then finally, we've got cloth. This is just gorgeous, clean, nice colors, well defined, and you know the non-mythic set just looks like a really nice solid bit of gear. Of course, the mythic version does look brilliant as well. So overall, a brilliant showing for the Night Elf armor. Next, let's swap over to the Horde with the Forsaken. The Forsaken, especially since Wrath, have had this really fun, kind of cruel visual identity, and you really do see that in these sets. So the plate armor is pretty strong. Now, I'll admit it is, you know, it's hard to see some of the definition on a Forsaken, but it's pretty solid for the most part. It's pretty mean looking, and the mythic variant, you know, slaps on some spikes. Now, moving on to the male one, we see a similar enough story. A solid enough set that just looks kind of nasty. One thing that I do want to flag up though is the mythic variant. I really like what they've done with the male chest armor. You've got the kind of male skirt thing going on. I think that's pretty cool. Next, the leather is where things move from being average to being really cool. Do you want to look like the ultimate cruel, nasty Forsaken rogue? Because this armor absolutely nails it. Actually, it feels almost kind of practical, although of course the mythic version throws that all out the window with you know, little spikes over everything for some reason. Then finally, we've got the cloth one, which is just, it's the winner here. It's the perfect undead warlock set. Like the plague doctor look, it's just eternally creepy and nasty. You've got all the plague files. It's a brilliant bit of gear, and that's what's unlabeled as the mythic tint. I'm assuming that just means, you know, your 370 Warfront chest. The regular cloth version though is just a little bit average. So overall, I think two pretty good showings, though I do think the Alliance are coming out just a little bit on top when it comes to the gear. Okay, next up we have the raid stuff. Of course, we're seeing them continue with how they're doing the raid sets, where we get essentially just 4 sets, one for each of the armor types, rather than one for each class. And we're going to kick it off with cloth. And with this, you can immediately see it's inspired by Bomb Sandy, completely. And this one, to be honest, it's kind of middling to me. I really like the helm, the chest, and the shoulders, but the rest just feels kind of muddled. At the very least, though, it does bring us some good transmog tools with the top half. Though when you hop over to the Mythic version, it really improves. The bone white features extend further down. It gives it a more cohesive look. The shoulders are a little bit absurd, of course, but hey, it's in a fun Warcrafty way, so I like that. And hey, why not have loads of lights? As for leather, well, I really like it. It just feels appropriately nasty. You've got a bit more depth in the shoulders with the bones being raised up, which I think looks quite nice. The blue and red tints probably fare the best. Others are just a little bit muddy to me, though the Mythic one really shines. It's got all of its features elevated, and of course, those really cool, like, blue death-looking lights that are associated with Bomb Sandy. Next, we've got mail. Oh dear, look, I mained a hunter for a long time, so I'm kind of used to rubbish gear for mail. This one just looks a bit funky, to be honest. Looks like the gear equivalent of a No Man's Sky creature. Yeah, just the silhouette's really weird. It's a little bit better in the Mythic tint, but still, I think this misses the mark. Then finally, Plate is here to save the day. It's a very specific look that I happen to love. The color palette, the way the bones flow into each other, I really like it. The Mythic version is even better. I mean, come on, you get a dinosaur on your shoulder. What's not to love? I just think it looks really cool and imposing, but, well, it's gonna clip real bad. Okay, there is the armor of the new raid. Overall, I'd say probably comes out kind of average. If you like the deathy theme, you're probably going to be really happy here, but if you don't like that theme, then it might be a bit of a dud, and I suppose that is the, that's just what they have to deal with when they go for having a strong, overarching theme for every armor set within a given raid. Then they also added in 3 new helms that are kind of modeled off Gallywix. They're a bit more wacky than most, but I think they're going to make for some really nice transmogs. Next, though, let's talk about weapons. So the Warfronts bring a really cool selection of Forsaken and Night Elf weapons. I suppose it's decently similar to getting, heritage armor weapons when you kind of think about how faction-oriented the stylings are. Now, I've always loved the Night Elf weapon designs in the game, and thankfully, they've not messed around with the formula. They've not messed it up. These are great. My favorites are probably the purple shield, the one-handed sword, and the bows. Although, just overall, I think they're looking fantastic. Really, I just think Alliance PvP players, I'm really happy with how my character looks right now. I'm still going to be in this patch. We just have these really cool, cohesive sets, and it's great to see that's continuing in 8.1. As for the Horde weapons, well, a few of them are a little bit dull in terms of their color, but I really like the direction and the shapes. You know, when you look at the elf ones, they're really sleek and smooth, sort of clean cuts. Well, these ones are like chunky with really defined lines. They don't look like they're designed to, put a clean cut in the enemy, that's for sure. So overall, not as cool as the Alliance one straight up, but I think they do match their theme really well. Let's move on to the weapons of the Siege. So overall, I would say pretty strong troll gear. It's a step above the leveling set, but to be honest, it's not mega exciting to me, bar perhaps the two-handed swords and the shield. Really, no, it's a strange raid. I mean, most of it is just reused world assets. I mean, the story and all that's cool. I'm sure the fights are great, but it's not a super, mega crazy raid when it comes to the art in the same way that, say, Uldir was. And that's kind of interesting to me because it really makes me think that the art team are cooking up something big for 8.2 or 8.3. Okay, next up, animations. That's all it for this video. We've got Paladin animation revamps. They're really cool, and I've put together a clip for you. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. Paladins just continue to be so damn visually impressive. It's just a big full-on light show with those guys. Next up, we've got a fairly sizable stack of mounts. So first, the Warfront ones. Both factions are going to have the Ashenvale Chimera, which is pretty much a purple and grey Rylak from Warlords of Draenor. Then there is a Kodo that you can get from the Warfront, as well as 3 unarmored Night Sabers. I think these are probably some of the best looking Night Sabers we've ever got, so suffice to say, I will be farming up this Warfront when I can. We also have a plain looking bear mount that is also from killing a Warfront. Rare. Then we have a bunch of new island rewards. So the Stonehide Elderhorn, the Blood-Gorged Hunter, the Risen Mare, and the Island Stormscale are all from islands, seemingly through random drops just like the current ones. That's not all though. The Saltwater Seahorse is available from the Seafarer's Doubloon vendor. But that's still not it. There is a new currency, actually, that we at least know it comes from Warfronts. It will probably also come from Incursions. Now, it's got Horde and Alliance rewards, with the Alliance getting the Priestess's Moonsaber for 1,000 and the Wild Blue Venom Tail for 200. So that's the mystery of the Armored Nightsaber solved. Then for the Horde, they get the Red Venom Tail for 200 and a new Bat for 1,000. Then both factions are going to get the Frog Mounts. They come in 3 colors, and they are 333,333 gold each, and they also happen to have some of my favorite animations yet, so suffice to say, I will be getting one of those. Then we have a raid mount for the Horde. Gallywix, never the one to compensate, of course, has just built himself a mech suit to rival Mechatorks, and you can get it from the boss fight. I'm not sure if there's going to be an Alliance equivalent of that mount yet, but as for the mount itself, it's probably one of my favorite ones using that rig yet. It's really, really cool. Then we've got the Hive Mind, which is almost certainly a secret of some sort, and that's most of it for the non-PvP mounts, but of course, there'll be a new PvP season, so we have the Vicious mounts, there's a War Saber, and there's War Sabers and Bone Steeds, so they're in the next PvP season, which makes pretty good sense given the Dark Shore world front is Forsaken versus Night Elves. That's not it though, the Tall Striders are receiving updated models, not exactly the most popular mount in the world, but it's nice to see that the model update is being carried over. And then finally there is a Kultiran horse that is almost certainly the Kultiran human allied race model. Yes, it's just another horse, but it's a particularly nice one. So overall, I really like the new mounts, especially the Armored Nightsaber. I think that's really cool, and I actually really like the Kultiran horse, so I'll probably go for that as well, and the frogs. Overall though, there's actually a fair amount to go after. So overall, there you have it. That is the new visual rewards of patch 8.1. There is quite a lot to collect, although between world quests and a few war fronts, you should be able to get a decent amount of this stuff fairly quickly. So let me know what you think about the new visuals of this patch down in the comments. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.